Hey guys, Nicole here with Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today we're going to be talking about ball pythons and the things that can stress them out. So let's get started. Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about stressors for ball pythons specifically. There are a few main things that really stress them out, and there's a few things that you guys have to keep in mind if you are a new keeper and you are looking for something that's cute and cuddly and you want to take it out all the time. You're probably going to want to look towards something more like a pet rat, pet cat, something who wants to be held. The truth is, when it comes to pretty much any reptile, they're wild animals still, especially ball pythons, and most of them tolerate things, and I use the word tolerate. Some, I'm sure, enjoy some things, but majority of ball pythons will tolerate just about anything, but it doesn't mean that they are enjoying it. So when it comes to certain ball pythons, I have several ball pythons that I can hold. I could tie in a bow if I wanted to. I could do absolutely anything, and they will just sit there and take it and keep on looking around like they're totally fine. But then I do have other ball pythons I've gotten from people who they said that they were incredibly aggressive. They strike all the time. They hiss all the time. They're nasty is what a lot of them have said. And some of that is true. Some of that might have been how they were caring for them, how they were interacting with them. I do have some that will still hiss at me. I rarely get struck at, ever, unless I'm feeding. But some of them will not tolerate any handling whatsoever. They'll just hiss and they whip and they try to get away. But today we're going to talk about things that make stress on them a lot worse. A few things that you can look at and tell, okay, that snake looks happy, that snake looks very upset. But keep in mind, every single ball python is totally different. Some of them will tolerate a ton of stuff until they don't, and then some of them just non-stop. They just don't want anything to do with people, and that's totally okay. Pretty much with all of my snakes, I give them whatever it is that they want specifically. So if I open a cage, I have a purple passion female named Mauve, who, if I physically touch her, it's not just like a snake hook. If she feels me touching her, she will whip away, whip around, hiss nonstop. She's very upset, does not like to be touched. So when we clean her cage, we do any maintenance. When we have to breed her, we'll take her out with a hook, put her in a different enclosure, clean, do everything we have to do. And she just does not like to be touched. And that's how she was when she was only 1 or 2 when I got her. I probably had her about 7-8 years now. And throughout those 7-8 years, I've given her time to settle in. She has perfect setup, perfect everything, but she still does not like physical human touch. As soon as I touch her, she feels the warmth. It completely freaks her out, so we don't bother her with it. But then most of my snakes, especially ones that I show you guys in videos, they are comfortable being out. I am not bothering them, and when I do take them out, that's why generally in videos you'll see a different snake every time, or I film these, let's say once a week I film a video, so I'm not overstressing these animals. Overhandling is one of the biggest issues when it comes to stressing out a ball python. If you are taking your snake out every single day for 2 hours a day, you're probably going to stress it out. But there are ways to know if you are or if you are not. Again, I'm going to use the word tolerate. Most snakes will tolerate just about whatever you want to do with them, as long as you're not harming them, hurting them, dropping them. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they are enjoying it. So when you take out a ball python, I normally say good rule of thumb is if you want to take that snake out between 1 and 3 times a week, ball python could work perfectly for you. If you're somebody who wants to be holding it nonstop and, you know, take it out on walks, like around your neck and bring it around places, depending on where you live, the temperature, the everything, that could really stress out the animal. But if you want something, you know, you're taking out 1 to 3 times a week, not including taking them out if you're going to be cleaning their enclosure, stuff like that, then a ball python could work perfect. If you are only taking your ball python out to clean its enclosure, interacting with it when you are feeding it, and then let's say 2 months later you want to hold it, that's also fine as well. These animals don't crave attention, they don't require attention as long as they're being well maintained. Again, all snakes are totally different. Some snakes, they come out, you know, whenever people come over. I have certain snakes that I will show people, certain snakes that I will not show people. Like, I won't take them out and handle them because I don't want people to be scared or bit. I have some snakes that I totally trust, but every snake can have a bad day. We're going to do an entire video on body language and how to be able to tell that, and in that video I will touch and hold and show you guys some of our aggressive animals, some of our very friendly animals, just to show you guys the difference between how they're acting, I touched on this a little bit a few years ago, but I think it's time, especially holding a wider range of snakes, to be able to show you guys. Alright guys, real quick, I'm going to pop in here. If you have absolutely no idea why I'm popping in here, then that means you haven't heard of our completely free giveaway that we are doing. It's going to be in the description box below. If you haven't already, make sure you go check that out. We are giving away something totally free, and you really don't want to miss it out. I'll give you a hint, it's a 2-gene banana, so make sure you go watch that video. So if you do know what I'm talking about and you are looking for another extra free entry for this giveaway, all you have to do is go to 3 more YouTube videos. Not this one, not the giveaway. Pick any 3 other YouTube videos that we have done here at Obscure Reptiles and Caging and leave us a comment. Tell us why you enjoy that video. Tell us something random about yourself. Tell us anything you want. Just make sure you put a little sentence in there. But do that to 3 of our videos. Again, this video doesn't count and our giveaway video doesn't count. Pick 3 any other videos that you like that we have done. Once you have done that, take a screenshot of all 3. Send them over to my Twisted Reptiles Facebook page. And I will make sure to get you guys your extra free entry. But snakes can have a bad day. You don't want to overhandle that animal. So if you are overhandling that animal, you are stressing that animal out, there are quite a few things that you could tell. One, that snake is not going to be eating. That's why when people ever get babies from me, I always say, you know, make sure you get that baby successfully eating for you a few times in a row before you even try to handle it whatsoever, unless you're cleaning its enclosure or checking on it to make sure the temperatures are correct. Don't touch that animal if you are not getting it to eat, because handling it is one of the biggest stressors. So if your animal is not eating, and it's not something like it's going through brumation or it's about to shed, it's missed one meal, I'm talking about it consistently misses meals or it's been going on a food strike for quite a while, immediately stop handling that animal and look into, number 1, the cage and the setup, and 2, that handling. You got to stop it, because those are really the 2 biggest things. So that other big stressor, which can be the cage and setup, if you have them in a huge cage or setup like I have on these with these Ackies, you put a baby in something this large, it probably is going to stress it out. I'm not saying it 100% of the time will, but there's a really good chance you're going to stress out that baby. It's not going to eat. And in something, let's say this large of an enclosure, the only reason why this might work is because I've got about 20 pieces of cork bark. I have hidden snake hides down under the substrate. We've got PVC tubes. We've got ample places for these animals to hide, because that's what Ackies prefer. But if you had a ball python in something this large, it's just very overwhelming and stressful for them to have all this space. So we have entire videos on ball pythons, proper setups, proper cages, all that type of stuff. But if you're trying to put a tiny baby in something this large and they're no longer eating for you, that could be a huge stressor. Another thing is if you have them, for example, in a full glass tank. 1, it's going to be too cold. 2, it's not going to have the proper humidity. And 3, that snake can see out all around, which is nice for you because you want to be able to see that animal. But if you can see that animal, it's not very good, which is why a lot of zoos do cages incorrectly, because they want people to be able to see the animals. You go to see the animals, but if they can always be seen by you, then that is not a good cage for a reptile, for most animals, because they need their privacy, they need to feel comfortable, they need a house, a home, somewhere that they can like get away from everybody. But if all zoos were like that, you'd never see the animals and people wouldn't like it. But that does not mean that it's correct. Another few things that could be stressing out your snake is they could be sick. It could be they're about to shed and you don't know that. Could be that they're going into brumation, or they already are in brumation. You could have not enough hides. You could have too large of hides. Their cage could have recently been changed or upgraded, stuff like that. All those things can really stress out your animal. A really good way to know that your animal is not stressed, that your snake is good and happy. You are just going to be holding your snake. They're going to be tongue flicking. They'll be lightly looking around, moving around a little bit. Some snakes are much more active than others. But if that snake is absolutely flailing around trying to get away from you, it doesn't want to be held. If you are holding a ball python, which they're known to wrap in a ball, which is why they call it ball pythons, if it's just sitting in a ball, super tight, it's not moving whatsoever, that animal is nervous and doesn't really want to be interacted with. If you're just sitting here holding it, not bothering it, you're not rolling it around, you're just letting it sit there. Sometimes sooner or later they will come out when they're not as nervous. Their age can also greatly be affecting if this animal is stressed or not. If you have a full-grown female ball python, you have this cage set up. This is a 5x2x2. Let's say you have ample hides, you've got perfect hot spots, perfect cool spots, lots of water, lots of things for her to get into, so she's nice and comfortable. This cage could be absolutely perfect, but if you go and put a baby in there, it might not be. So The age could have a lot to do with if it's being stressed. A lot of times babies are nippy, they like to strike. It's because they're nervous, they're scared. You are a very large thing holding them. They think you're a predator, they don't want to be hurt or harmed, so their only defense is to curl up into a ball or to fight back and strike and at least try to scare you away or try to bite you. It's not to try to hurt you, they're not trying to kill you, they're not trying to eat you, they're just trying to get you away. So that's really their only defense because they have no arms, they have no claws, they have nothing other than their mouth. So if your baby is eating well, thriving, its cage is awesome, but when you hold it, it's very snippy, sometimes you just have to wait until they're a little bit older. Some snakes are snippy from birth all the way up until, they're full grown. And then majority of babies, at least in my experience, for example, Big Mama, my big albino pied female, she's the absolute sweetest, but anytime I used to just walk by her cage, she would strike at me as a baby. And she did that for the first 2 years. She was almost impossible to get out. It was very difficult to handle her, very hard to feed her because when I would go to open, she would come flying out. She was super stressful, and now that she's 7, 8, 9 years old, she's absolutely fantastic and has been the last few years. Now that she's older, she's figured out I'm not going to hurt her. She's going to get food. She's going to stay clean. She has everything she needs. There's really no reason to be afraid of me. If you think your reptile is stressed, there's a couple things that you can do. One, change their cage, downgrade a little bit, add more hides, make sure temperatures and humidities are spot on and perfect. You can also do things like don't boop their snoot. People love to do that where you poke them in the nose. That's where all their sensory organs inside their mouth, on the outside, their heat pits, everything that's really important to a snake, it's on its head. So some snakes are not head shy, it's called, but many are. So especially if they are, do not try poking them in the face. It's just going to freak them out. If you have a snake that is hissing, striking, biting you, their tail rattling when they're super upset, or they do a little wiggle with the back of their tail, all of those are signs that your animal is incredibly stressed. There's something that's wrong with what you're doing, with their environment, or just something wrong with them. Give them a little bit of space and try not to overstress your animal. It's one of the worst things you can do, especially for ball pythons. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. And again, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. We do a few videos every single week. So I'll see you guys in the next video.